Welcome to the Soul Rests, a place where stories touch the heart and remind us what truly matters in life. Here, we share meaningful stories about love, family, wisdom, and the quiet lessons life teaches us. If you enjoy stories that bring peace and reflection, please subscribe to the Soul Rest and join our growing community. Now, let me tell you a story. A story about an old couple who lived quietly in a small house. A couple nobody ever visited. But one day, something unexpected happened, and the whole town learned a lesson they would never forget. At the edge of a quiet town stood a small, old house. The paint was fading. The garden was overgrown, and the wooden fence leaned slightly to one side. Inside that house lived an old couple. Their names were Henry and Margaret. They had lived there for more than 40 years. When they were younger, their house was always full of laughter. Their 3 children ran through the hallways, played in the garden, and filled the home with noise and life. Back then, the house felt warm. Back then, they were never lonely. But time moves quietly. Children grow up. Dreams call them to other places. One by one, their children left the town. First for college, then for jobs, then for their own families. At first, they promised they would visit often. Mom, Dad, we'll come back soon. And they meant it. Life simply became busy. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. Eventually, the visits stopped. The phone calls became shorter. Sometimes, they forgot to call at all. Henry and Margaret still woke up every morning together. Henry made tea. Margaret watered the flowers in the small garden. They sat at the old wooden table and shared breakfast. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they simply enjoyed the silence. But every afternoon, Margaret would glance toward the road. Just for a moment. As if she hoped to see a car turning toward their house. Henry noticed this. But he never said anything. Instead, he would gently say, "Margaret, the roses are blooming today." And she would smile. They understood each other without words. The people in town knew the old couple. They saw Henry walking slowly to the grocery store. They saw Margaret buying bread at the bakery. But no one ever saw visitors at their house. No children. No grandchildren. Just the 2 of them. One afternoon, a young boy named Daniel moved into the house across the street with his parents. Daniel was curious. One day he asked his mother, "Mom, who lives in that old house?" His mother looked out the window. "Oh, that's Mr. Henry and Mrs. Margaret. They've lived there forever. Why does nobody visit them?" His mother hesitated. "I guess people just get busy." Daniel didn't understand. How could someone forget to visit their parents? One rainy afternoon, Daniel walked across the street. He knocked on the old wooden door. Margaret opened it. She looked surprised. "Hello?" Daniel smiled nervously. "Hi, I live across the street." Margaret's eyes softened. "Oh, hello, dear." Daniel held up a small drawing. "I made this." It was a picture of a house with flowers and 2 smiling stick figures. "For you?" Margaret's eyes filled with tears. She knelt down gently. "Thank you." Henry appeared behind her. "Who is it?" Margaret smiled. "It's a visitor." Henry laughed softly. A visitor? Well, that's rare these days. They invited Daniel inside. And that afternoon, for the first time in a long time, their house felt alive again. Daniel started visiting often. After school, he would sit with them at the kitchen table. Margaret baked cookies. Henry told stories about the town from 50 years ago. Daniel loved listening. Sometimes he helped Henry fix things in the garden. Sometimes Margaret taught him how to bake. The house slowly filled with laughter again. Neighbors began to notice, who is that boy always visiting them? But Daniel didn't care. To him, Henry and Margaret felt like grandparents. One evening, Daniel asked a question. Do your children live far away? Margaret smiled gently. Yes, very far. Do they visit you? Margaret paused. Then she simply said, they're very busy. Henry placed his hand softly over hers. But Daniel saw something in their eyes. Something quiet. Something sad. Winter arrived that year earlier than usual. The town was covered in snow. Daniel continued visiting. One afternoon, he noticed something strange. The house was quiet. No lights were on. He knocked. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. Daniel ran to get his parents. Together, they opened the door. Inside, Henry sat quietly in his chair. Margaret was resting beside him. They had fallen asleep. Peacefully. Together. Just like they had lived. Side by side. News spread through the town. The old couple had passed away. At the small funeral, something surprising happened. Many people came. Neighbors, shop owners, old friends, and then 3 cars arrived. Their children stepped out. Now grown older themselves, they stood silently in front of the house. One daughter whispered, I thought we had more time. Another said quietly, we should have visited more. Daniel stood beside them, holding the drawing he once gave Margaret. Later, Daniel's mother asked him, what did you learn from them? Daniel looked at the quiet house. Then he said something simple. They didn't need money. They didn't need gifts. They just needed someone to visit. Sometimes, the greatest gift you can give someone is simply your presence. Many people spend their lives chasing success, working, building, achieving, but somewhere behind us, there may be parents or grandparents waiting quietly, not for money, not for expensive gifts, just for a phone call, a visit, or a moment of our time. One day we may realize something painful. The people who waited for us are no longer there. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to The Soul Rest. Here we share stories that remind us about love, family, and the quiet wisdom of life. And before you leave today, take a moment. Call your parents. Visit someone who might be waiting for you. Because sometimes, the people who love us the most are simply hoping we will remember them. Thank you for listening, and welcome to The Soul Rest.